Pink carnation?
Oh, no. I meant to bring some. I brought you a card, but just a welcome card.
Seething with a musical desire, I believed I had something to say.
Meet Ethel Smythe, unsung composer and champion of the suffragettes.
You're listening to Classic FM.
Discover how radio stations are reaching out to ensure audiences for classics don't go down the pan. And tune into the weird world of the child prodigies. The Score, Sunday at 7:20 on BBC Two.
In this season of ministerial reshuffles, Time Watch tonight recalls the big one, when Harold Macmillan sacked his Chancellor and a third of his cabinet in July 1962, the night of the Long Knives in 15 minutes. First, a new series for BBC Two, following on from its black and white cousin. This is what the magazines say.
This week, What the Magazines Say is presented by Tony Parsons of the Daily Telegraph.
Good evening. To snog or not to snog? To bonk or not to bonk? These are the questions playing on the minds of teenagers, and our whole magazine market has built up trying to answer them.
Who should make the first move?
What's horny?
What indeed? As far as the magazines are concerned, the problems of teenagers are the problems of teenage girls. While the lads are busy dribbling on the football field, girls are busy growing up.
Later, Ben took Rebecca for a drive in the country.
It's good to get a blast of air. It's so humid. Do you know where we are? We've come a long way.
Oh, yeah. I come out here all the time. Yeah, can you see that star there? That's Orion Major.
Really?
No, haven't a clue. It's just the only star name I know.
Hey.
Come on.
We've only just met. So don't spoil it.
Ah, how far should I go? The age-old problem. You might think teenage magazines would be junior versions of their big sisters in the women's market, but with their craven worship of celebrity, their sexual hypocrisy, and their breezy end-of-pier good humour, teenage magazines are actually much closer to the tabloids. More is read by 15-year-olds and upwards. This story could have been lifted from the Sun.
Male strippers have been warned to shape up or ship out, as hunky stripper Dave Lewis found out when he flashed his credentials at a hen night recently. Apparently, when Dave finally whipped off his G-string, the women in the audience were extremely disappointed with what they saw and demanded their money back. Poor Dave offered to do another strip for free, but the punters weren't having any of it. Seems the audience wanted a Chippendale, but all they got was a Chipolata.
And like the tabloids, teen mags have their own arcane language.
My mate Cyril gets any handsome specimen she wants. Cyril, my best mate, is one of those chickstrels.
A chickstraw is a girl who can pull any bloke who's hunksome.
One of those chickstrels who's tall, thin, dark and gorgeous. Funkacious too.
Being funkacious aids a chickstraw in pulling the hunksome. Just 17 delights in this.
Trendoid.
Speak, using it as a code to separate teenagers from their parents and create an identity of their own.
I've been seeing my boy for a month. Last week I let him heavy pet me.
Boyf?
Boyf hates my clothes.
Could it be...
I love my boyfriend and he loves me, but we can't agree on one thing, my clothes. He says I look like a tart when I wear tight clothes, but when I wear jeans, he hates that too.
OK, you chickstraw, go out and grab another boy who's more trendoid. Simple, eh? But there's a problem here. What happens if you don't have a boyfriend?
They've all got boyfriends.
I'm 12 years old and go around with 4 girls in my class. The problem is they all have boyfriends and I don't. All my friends talk about their boyfriends and walk around looking for them at school.
Do you really want to have a boyfriend that you have to go around school looking for? This isn't the response given by Kathy, shouts agony aunt.
Boyfriend or not, you have to learn to believe in yourself. Confidence is every bit as important as looks.
And looks aren't important, are they? Well, that's if you believe the agony uncle of just 17.
There is a girl at my school who fancies me. I know her well and get on with her. But if I asked her out, my friends would make fun of me because she's fat and quite ugly.
And what does...
Nick Fisher.
Advice.
A boy's view.
have to say about this?
If you found a girl you really like, and one who fancies you too, then it sounds like you're onto a winner.
So now we're all quite sure that looks aren't important. But what about the pages of Kate Moss lookalikes? The editorial may be trying to say it's okay to be fat and spotty, but the pictures tell a different story. This is the age when worries about weight and looks can get out of hand. A puppy-fatted 12-year-old turns 15 as an anorexic. The messages are not always clear.
Tried and tasted. Supermodel diets.
What do the catwalk queens eat to stay sleek and sexy? We tested for supermodels' daily diets.
The Schiffer Snoresville strategy.
Healthy but boring and definitely lacking in something. Food, perhaps.
However, while the magazines are doing their best to be responsible and telling girls they should be happy just the way they are, the focus on men is a little more critical concerning the physical side.
Love gods or wobbly slobs.
Do you love his bod, wobbly bits and all? We bagged.
They mean put a bag over their heads.
We bagged 6 brave lads, asked them to let it all hang out, and got 4 girls to reveal the kind of body that turns them on.
So do the 4 girls decide that this is dehumanising and that personality matters more? No, they don't.
Mr. Model.
Wow, an almost perfect body. I bet he's a good little mover. On the dance floor, that is.
Mr. Musley.
This guy is sexy, a real turn-on. I love men with big muscles.
So they've praised the hunksome, but what do they think of the slightly imperfect? Not that I'm interested personally or anything.
Mr. Skinny.
If I got into bed with him, I'd break him in 2. He looks like a schoolboy, although he's probably really sweet.
Mr. Slobber.
He looks a mess, all white and pasty, with no tone at all. I bet he lies round all day, drinking beer and watching football. He should go out and get some exercise.
They really are pretty picky about the other sex's bodies. Yet this is hardly surprising given the quality of the men that are plastered across the pages of these magazines. My guys show ordinary, although handsome chaps.
Did your mum really say I look like Keanu Reeves?
Yes, a bit.
Yet move up into the slightly elder range of titles and the pictures are no longer teenagers themselves, but celebrities. Fresh from the gym.
I dreamed about bread and cheese and had fantasies of pouring wine on my head while I rolled naked in the dirt.
Keanu Reeves on fasting for Little Buddha.
Young blood.
Stand aside, Keanu, Matt and Brad. There's a new generation of Hollywood babe magnets on the loose.
Marky Mark.
I stole cars, I stole girlfriends, I stole bikes, I did everything.
These potential boifs bearing huge pumped-up pecs glistening with baby oil make a stark contrast to when the ideal male of the teen mag, from Mark Bolan to Boy George, looked decidedly feminine. But these boys look more like advertisements for steroid abuse. Whether you're looking at the teeny-weeny market or the clued-in older group, all these magazines share a mission to explain the male of the species.
Hair language.
Want to know what boys mean when they're fiddling with their hair? Allow me to unlock the code. Twiddling long, straggly bits around finger.
Means?
Nervous because either we're about to chat up a babe or we're removing the remains of a food fight.
Running fingers through hair.
Means?
A come-and-get-me Luke Perry type move or a teasing gesture to balding blokes everywhere.
Who loves your baby? Well, for older girls...
My boyfriend.
The feature where you tell us about the boys in your life.
Barbara Janaway.
17.
From Gillingham in Kent has been dating Paul.
17.
For 7 months and they're...
Mushier the mushy peas over each other.
They mush peas over each other.
What do you like about him?
His consideration for others.
What don't you like about him?
I don't like him picking his nose and flicking it across the room.
A tasty geezer. Often teen mags seem caught in a hunk-teasing 50s time warp as they seek to attract hunkacious blokes and then say down boy with conviction.
You wrote it, we quote it.
Poetic license to chill.
Journalists writing in these magazines can never quite capture the innocence in the genuine way the readers can when they write in with their true stories.
Thanks a bunch.
You and I were the only people in the house. You were lying on the bed and I was sitting at my desk working. Out of the blue, I passed out. I slipped off my chair and banged my head on the table as I fell to the floor. Luckily, you were there to help me.
And what did the romantic lead do with the comatose teen heroine?
You came and licked my face.
Oh, not the traditional romantic lead then.
You came and licked my face and barked loudly until someone came.
So Barney the dog saves the day. You really couldn't make it up quite like that. Their language, heavy petting, snog, crush, is the language of not going all the way, the language of just saying, no, my parents will be back soon. For all their sexual bluster, these home county Lolitas prove that the sexual revolution, that golden period when the world was post-pill and pre-AIDS, is definitely over.
When you're on the cop, You've got to look hot.
Get your kit on.
This is my sex kitten look. The T-shirt says 4 on the front and play on the back. And 99% of the time it attracts the wrong sort of attention. I get loads of cheeky comments and not so subtle requests like...
Are you up for it?
Same thing happens to me when I wear my foreplay T-shirt. The teen mags, like teenagers themselves, walk a precarious tightrope, balanced forever between innocence and experience. On the one hand, Just 17 has a letter saying...
Crush on boy.
We are 2 14-year-old girls who have a massive crush on a 17-year-old boy. He's leaving school this year, and we don't know how we'll cope if we can't see him every day.
Amy and Suzanne, Scotland.
Well, 2 pages earlier, the same magazine had this.
Help. I'm pregnant.
If teenage years are difficult, spare a thought for the agony aunts and uncles. Every magazine has several pages of advice for angst-ridden adolescents. Some of the letters are enough to break your heart.
I cut myself. I'm so confused, and I feel so lonely all the time. I've got to the stage where I cut myself on the wrist, and I hope one time I'll end up killing myself. I hate school, and I don't have any mates. My mum is always getting on at me, and I'm always in some sort of trouble.
Parents take note. The problem pages can be the last resort for deeply troubled teenagers, young girls trying to find out who they really are. One thing they lack are positive role models for growing girls. It's usually boys who are hotshot singers and actors, while the career advice for girls is restricted to chit-chat about models, and even girls who get their kit off for the lads.
I started posing topless at 16.
The Diary of a Teenage Glamour Model.
Monday.
First stop, the agency. I was up early at 10 a.m, early for me, to visit my agent. I have to pop in there a couple of times a week for a chat. And when I arrived, Yvonne...
Her agent.
...had a nice surprise for me. She'd arranged for me to have cosmetic dentistry on a couple of my front teeth.
And by Thursday, she was using her lovely new teeth in a topless fashion shoot. Even when the role models are a bit better, they are still written about as if they were page 3 pin-ups.
A big hurrah goes out to Czechoslovakian supermodel Eva Hertzigova.
That's the Wonder Bra, babe.
For managing to cram language studies into her hectic glam schedule. She's now fluent in Russian, English and French, and is going to learn Spanish the first chance she gets. Dumb blonde, her.
The teenage magazine market is a broad church offering communion to girls worried about their snogging technique.
I can't snog. I'm afraid of kissing. I'm 15 and have never kissed a boy. The idea of it really terrifies me. Now, I'm really worried because a boy has asked me out and I've said yes. Have you got any tips that will help me?
To much older girls with other things on their mind.
Lucky Bill, Cellulite and Tom Cruise are just some of the things me and me girlfriends have admitted to thinking about during sex.
At the older end of the market, magazines like More, Looks and 19 leave behind the vowed innocence of youth and plunge straight in there.
More.
Footy or foreplay? What's on his mind during sex?
He wants your baby. One man gets broody.
19.
What boys think about kinky sex?
Looks.
Yabba dabba drill.
Men to make your bed rock.
I said it was a diverse market. With these titles, there's no messing. They're quite literally eye-boggling.
Position of the fortnight.
He lies there while you give him a sensuous hand and mouth massage.
That's quite enough of that. But past the raunchy cover copy, inside it's often a more innocent, more touching and more pathetic story.
I have a loving husband and a beautiful little girl of 6 months old. The problem is that although my husband satisfies my sexual needs, I still have sexual fantasies about Craig McLachlan.
Ex-neighbours.
You may snigger, but I almost breathe him. It's like an obsession. I love him, but he doesn't know I exist.
My advice is, instead of writing to...
Dear Lola.
Write to Dearest Craig. Problem solved. Next.
6 months ago, my granddad died. Now I think I'm in love with the funeral director who drove me to the funeral. He's about 30 and I'm 13. What should I do?
Ah, now you've got me there. Ultimately, teen mags work because they care. They provide a service their young readers can't get anywhere else. Not from their parents, their teachers, not even their boys. But there's one thing left to learn before becoming a really big girl when you can browse maturely through the pages of Cosmo and Marie Claire.
Are you a girl's girl?
Yes, it's the quiz, the indispensable way to find out.
Are you an emotional punch bag?
Or...
How passionate are you?
7.
Which of the following song titles best sums up your view of love?
A. Addicted to love.
B. Love is a wonderful thing.
C. What is love?
D. Love stinks.
I guess most teenagers would say all of the above. It is, as they say, a difficult age. Good night.
Each time we have a quarrel, it almost breaks my heart, 'cause I am so afraid that we will have to part. Each night I be a teenager in love. One day I feel so happy, next day I feel so sad. I guess I'll learn to take.
My principle is to break the connection with England and to assert the independence of my country.
In a season marking 25 years since British troops entered Northern Ireland, BBC Two are showing 3 documentaries which sparked conflict between broadcasters and politicians. The controversial Death on the Rock.
With one step, he could have actually touched the person he was shooting.
It sent shockwaves rippling through the government. Hang Up Your Brightest Colours, banned 1973.
The executions which Michael Collins carried out against the English later were never without a terrible reason.
Kenneth Griffith reflects on the IRA's first hero. Real Lives at the Edge of the Union, withdrawn from broadcast 1985.
You either be killed by them or kill them. Now, I know the option I want. I want to see them dead.
IRA sympathiser and hardline loyalist, 2 men whose beliefs put their lives in permanent danger. 25 bloody years, starting with Real Lives at the Edge of the Union, tomorrow at 7:15.
On BBC One now, Ronnie Barker leads the mice astray whilst the cat's away, making life quite tolerable inside. Outside, meanwhile, here on BBC Two, a miner with a passion for pinks and water conservation preoccupy Gardener's World in half an hour. First, another chance to see the highly acclaimed documentary, The Night of the Long Knives. Time Watch investigates why a beleaguered Tory Prime Minister suddenly decided to sack a third of his cabinet, many of them his oldest political friends.
Dig, man, there goes Mac the Knife.
During a long July night 27 years ago, the Conservative Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, who was known as the unflappable Super Mac, suddenly earned himself a new sobriquet. In an unprecedented act of political destruction, Mac the Knife sacked a third of his cabinet, but he always claimed that he was the one who felt the pain.
The sorrow and bitterness and heartburning of these changes comes from the man who has to make them. It's not so very, it may be momentarily resented by the victim, but it's not deeply resented by those who would hope to take his place.
I'm not easily persuaded of a sorrow in the heart of a butcher who is carrying out his butchery. I don't find this a very convincing tale. There's a certain zest about the job, and I dare say Henry VIII might have told you afterwards how much he regretted having to send these people to the block.
Macmillan's true motives for executing his Chancellor of the Exchequer and 6 other senior ministers have never been clear, but there are now new clues to help unravel the mystery. Harold Macmillan was on top of the political world before the Night of the Long Knives. The Conservatives had celebrated a decade in power after winning 3 general elections in a row. At the start of the 60s, Super Mac could do no wrong. He presided over an economic boom that transformed people's homes and lifestyles. But by the spring of 1962, everything had changed. Macmillan's own carefully refined image as an Edwardian gentleman politician was beginning to appear fusty and out of date. But the Prime Minister seemed impressed by the Chancellor's budget speech. He wrote to Lloyd, "That was the best speech I've ever heard from you, both in manner and matter. You must be tired, but happy." But Macmillan's private papers and diaries, to which he gave his official biographer full